Hi.
Hello, Crystal. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to have you here in the Day Jam to Dream Jam Summit. And you guys, if you don't know Crystal, you need to. She has been one of my crushes for some time now. And I'd love to tell you a little bit about her. So, after years of styling celebrities and big brands from Taylor Swift, Mercedes Benz, and the Billboard Music Awards, Crystal has discovered something surprising about great style. Wait for it. Nobody has the same body. Crazy, right? She believes great style is not about being a size 2, having skeleton arms, or wearing the latest trends. It's about knowing how to dress your body type because great style has no size. The other thing she discovered, shopping does not have to be oh so frightening. Once you stop stressing about the over airbrushed, underaged models in fashion magazines and focus on dressing for who you are, shopping becomes more of a strategy, like picking up a new toothbrush, but much more glamorous. Crystal believes that every woman deserves to feel great in her body, no matter her size, and that women's clothing size does not define her worth. She believes you don't have to be a size 0 to look and feel fabulous every day. And lastly, she believes you shouldn't wait to lose the weight before you start loving your style and living in a wardrobe that represents your own unique glamour. Every woman deserves to feel her sparkle inside and out and also feel safe sharing it with the world. Oh, I resonate with that so much, Crystal.
Yay. Well, I'm glad you do.
So, can you tell me a little bit about your kind of entrepreneurial journey or what we're calling in this summit your day job to dream job story?
Yeah. Well, and it's really interesting because I feel like there's a few iterations of how I went from
Yeah, totally.
standard 9 to 5 to where I am now, and I feel like there's almost like a few phases. So I'm more than happy to kind of break down how it happened for me.
Yeah, totally.
Um, So, I mean, there's a few things. Growing up, I wanted to be a few things. I wanted to be a fashion designer.
Mhm.
I also would see my grandfather, who was an entrepreneur, at his board meeting because he started a company that ended up being publicly traded. Like, I
Cool.
always saw him and was like, I want to do what he's doing someday.
Yeah,
And so
totally.
I also wanted to be a lawyer at some point, but like the Legally Blonde version of it. And
Me too.
yeah, I feel like it's like I love actually like I think of Elle Woods often because I think
Okay.
she's a really amazing um, representative of like someone who's really being herself in a field that
Totally.
she's amazing in, and she's just going out into the world and being her authentic self and
I
kicking
love
butt.
it. I love
But I digress there.
it. No, I
But
definitely agree.
yeah, so I went into high school like thinking, okay, I like had a plan. I actually went to Italy when I was 13 with my grandparents. We had visited this design school and I came up with this master plan for my life at 13
Love it.
that I was going to go to RISD and then go to Palamoda in France or not in France, in Florence,
Okay.
Italy for my master's.
Cool.
And partway through high school, I mean, we all evolve and change. I was like, okay, I really love business. Of course, like seeing people in my family do really well in business, I was kind of all around it. Yet
Yeah.
we also all have this creative side. And I was like, you know what? I'm like super creative. I like business. Like, I basically ended up deciding I was going to go to undergrad, like at a business specific school. And like, if I want to do anything, like, I am going to go 150% toward
Mm-hmm.
it. So I went
Yeah.
to, yeah, so I went to business, a business school called Bentley University. It's like so
Cool.
specifically focused on business.
Yeah.
During that time, I helped, I was one of the founding members of a fashion business organization, and
Cool.
that was like my love. And at the same time, like I
Yeah.
interned at my family's company. I really loved the marketing aspect. And
Mm-hmm.
so I decided to apply to grad school because I think, many of us who are like early millennials, I guess, 'cause I don't
Yeah.
quite consider myself a millennial, but I kind of age range, I guess I fell into that. But um, I, we like every single company that I would have applied to actually went on a job freeze. And I always wanted to get my master's. So I went to Syracuse and I got my master's in advertising from the Newhouse School, which is the top program in the country. Like, as I said,
Yeah.
if I do anything, I'm like, I'm
You're all
going to do
in.
be the best at it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, I go
totally.
in 100, 200%. Um, and I honestly picked Syracuse not only because they had an amazing reputation, but because they also had a fashion communication concentration I could do with my master's. So
Yeah,
I feel like
cool.
no surprise that I'm now where I am now.
Yeah.
Um, Out of my thesis, I actually got a job in New York City, and it was for Hasbro's ad agency, Uproar.
Okay.
Um, and they're part of Omnicom, which is one of the largest advertising conglomerates basically in the
Mm-hmm.
world.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I had I had a lot of experience in ad agencies, interning, also
Mm-hmm.
like on a corporate side, I didn't love it. And I
Yeah.
was like only in the job a few months and I decided to quit and like
Mm-hmm.
kind of impulsively
Yeah.
and was like, I'm going to go get my real estate license and kind of figure out what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
From that, I always loved HGTV.
Okay.
And I always assumed that I'd be a real estate investor in some way. So I was like, well,
We'll
this will
try
be good. It
this.
has a, yeah. And like
Yeah.
in grad school, I actually did a whole business plan competition and won
Cool.
an award for it. It was not related to fashion or anything.
You're
So
such a
there's,
superstar. Like, I love
I
it.
like,
It's like the
I,
common thread.
it's a common thread. I've realized now, like sometimes as I've been through this, I'm like, how does this all work together? But it really does.
Totally. Yeah.
And so, pretty quickly within 3 months of being a real estate agent, I was top salesperson in my company. And, within about a year or so of doing it, I actually got recruited to the marketing side by actually, she was my real estate agent, brought me in to this
Yeah.
up and coming
Yeah.
real estate marketing company. And so I was basically like marketing for one of the largest developers in New York.
So
One of the
cool.
most insane jobs ever.
Yeah.
$1 million listing New York. I actually have been on. I was on the first episode ever for like 2 seconds.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
so cool.
yeah, but it's like it is almost as stressful as they make it dramatized and make it seem.
Yeah.
But like it was really busy. Like I was working on the leasing side essentially, so I would also like in addition to having to market the building, have to be on my feet for like 8 to 10 hours a day without
my
even
God.
taking a break and having lunch. And I started to realize like it was not very healthy.
Yeah.
And in my actual downtime, like at the end of the day when I could sit down and do my reports, I also find myself looking at this place called The School Style and kind of e-stalking it. I think I found them through like a Facebook ad or something when like Facebook ads were probably super new.
Yeah.
I just kept searching and I was like, oh, it'd be so great to like be a stylist. I wanted to be a stylist in undergrad. Like before Rachel Zoe ever made it like into a popular career, I was like, this sounds really cool. It kind of has that fashion designer aspect that I always wanted to be. And like, there's kind of like that creative business element. So I ended up, I'm working the salaried real estate marketing job, which is like a combination of what I had been doing basically since graduating from college. And then I came back from jury duty and got let go of my job, which I don't think is actually legal. But they ended up like they lost the account. So I think that was just like a precursor to everything that was going on.
Yeah.
And it forced me, like, after the initial shock wore off and I, like, slept for a couple weeks to make up for all the, like, lack of
Fair.
sleep I probably had from the stress. I
Yeah.
was like, it would be so cool to go to the styling school. And so I remember my mom, we had just actually gone to California to visit my brother who was living in Orange County at the time. And we came back and I was, like, in the car with my mom and I'm like, there's, like, the styling school and I'm, like, not sure I want to do it. And she's like, you'll never know if you like it if you don't do it. And it's like funny because I'm such a go-getter to then have my mom just kind of like check me and be like, look, like
Yeah.
you need to just go and do it. Like if this is something you're interested in, I've heard you talk about it for years, like just go and do it.
Yeah.
And so I took money I paid for my classes. It was like over 10 days and like I booked the tickets for the classes, my ticket to LA and all my hotel and rental car. And like 48 hours later, I was in LA, which was kind of crazy.
Oh my God. Wow.
And they
What
actually
a
did have
leap.
new classes. Yeah. But I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not waiting. Like, I'm going to do this now. And
Yeah.
honestly, like, I was in LA for 2 weeks. I loved it out there. I mean, who can hate sunshine?
It's hard to do.
You can, like, be okay with the traffic when there's sunshine.
Yeah.
And then I came back to New York. And because they have connections both there, like, they have this really great network and an email system. And so I started just working and assisting right away.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and the great thing about the School Style was they really told you about the business of styling and how so much of styling was actually more business than creative.
Interesting.
And because I had a business background, I'm like, oh, this is super easy. And because I also had this background of helping brands brand themselves from a few different perspectives,
Yeah.
I was actually able to position myself when I would apply to all these assistant jobs and everything
Yeah.
to tell them how like I really understood how important this is for a brand. And I ended up easily like I
Yeah.
started out in New York. I did a lot of banking commercials
Yeah.
for like the large banks
Interesting.
and then also some big brands. And I was doing all that. Then I got stuck in LA I actually had my own job out in LA, so I flew out there. Hurricane Sandy happened.
Oh my gosh.
My
Yeah.
apartment was underwater, essentially. Like, not my apartment, but our
Stressful.
lobby. I was on like the 11th floor at that time, I think so.
Mhm.
Didn't get there, but
Yeah.
I was living in the financial district in New York. My building was underwater. Like, I had my friend, like, she was like literally put on her rain boots and would like go and take pictures of my building every day for me.
Yeah.
So I ended
Yeah.
up in LA for a whole month. And during that month, I actually met with one of the assistants to Taylor Swift's stylist and ended up
So
getting an
cool.
offer to work with them as an assistant. And within a month, like it wasn't even within a month. I mean, honestly, within like a week or two, I had all my stuff planning to move. And like that was, I just like had kind of wanted a change of pace. I had lived in New York since I had graduated, it had been a few years. And I was like, you know what, this is my dream. I'm going to go for it. Like, who wouldn't want to work for the
Yeah.
most powerful stylist in Hollywood if you get the chance?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm packing up my apartment to go to Los Angeles. And I was in an accident and lost all the vision in my left eye.
Oh my God.
And I ended up, all my stuff was on its way to California. And I ended up stuck like in my childhood bedroom with my mother, like driving me because I couldn't drive. And I was like, what the heck
Yeah.
is going on?
Yeah.
But I also had a lot of time to think with my thoughts, which were not very pretty thoughts at that time. And it really like, it was because of that that I ended up, I went to a fashion blogger conference because I kept thinking like it would be really cool to start a blog.
Was that the Independent Fashion Blogger Conference?
Yes.
What year was that? Because I was like, I feel like we might have both been there at the same time.
Who knows? Maybe
It's like
that's why you've
another-
always seemed so familiar to
I
me.
don't know. Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like we met in another life, kind of. I don't know.
Probably. We're
Yeah.
probably friends in another life. I feel like that's and it was there that I met Hillary Rushford. She was promoting
Okay.
B School. I got into B School because of B School. You know, I was like, I mean, honestly, I was starting a blog because I was like, maybe I can turn it into like its own business. And because, you know, styling is very physically demanding. Like you're on set, you're on your feet. I've learned like so many tricks for having like really comfortable shoes and things like that
Oh
where,
my God, I love it.
you know, now it really like informs what I'm doing because
Yeah.
I can really relate to like wanting to be comfy, but then also look good and be able to do
Yeah.
it quickly because we all have a lot to do.
Yeah.
And because of that whole experience of me, like basically being half blind, like doing B School,
It's a lot.
I started to realize like for me, I was like, I just don't feel good about my body. And that's really what it came back to. Like ever since I was like, I don't know, it's probably before I was 10. I don't know, like sometimes I relate it to like what grade I was, but like I gained weight after kindergarten. And I had always been in a battle with my weight. And it was during that time that it was like, you know, it was like, oh, you can be like a plus size stylist. And I was like, I don't like the word plus size. It like triggers me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so in B School, Sarah Jenks, who runs this program called Live More Way Less, had posted that her video training series was live. So I did it. Within like 2 minutes of her video series, I was bawling. And of course, like decided to sign up for her program, but like the second it went live. And that really started to shift a lot of things for me. And it was because of that I was still working, assisting. You know, I also like, there was a certain point where I went back to LA. I started my life there and I was working with T Swift's team. And then
So cool.
I worked on a movie. Like I was doing all this really great stuff. And like, the thing is like, it's all super glamorous, but it's long hours and not a lot of pay. And I knew there had to be something better out there. And because I was doing this work through Live More Way Less, like I was experiencing all these internal shifts for myself and also physical shifts and like clothing shifts too. Because one of the first things she does is encourages you to actually like wear stuff that makes you feel amazing and get rid of the stuff that like you're waiting to lose weight. And I was like, oh wait, I'm a stylist. Like why am I not doing this? And you know, it's really been amazing to like witness my own evolution. But I really like just with style and everything since making those shifts. And I started to realize there was actually a connection in what I was doing and these things I was learning from the personal development side. And so I decided to start my blog, which was Exo Crystal Cave. And the first post I did was, do these shorts make me look fat? And I just put it on my own Facebook and I got all these comments and I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, there is something here. And a few months later, I was actually at Sarah Jenks and Nisha Moodley's Live Free retreat. And it was there that I was like, okay, I am done with like taking on all these jobs, I'm going to build a business for myself.
Yeah.
And it was also there that I had visualized this idea of me having essentially a collection of all my style knowledge and sharing that with the women in the world.
Mhm.
And that's actually where my program, Not So Skinny Style School, actually came to be. So
Cool.
it was really like after that, like, you know, I didn't even had Taylor Swift people seeing if I could work certain days, because it's not like in styling, it's not always necessarily a salaried thing.
Totally. Yeah.
But I slowly went from like salaried to like kind of entrepreneurial, back to salaried, and then back again to like freelancy, but still working for someone else, then to finally be like,
Yeah.
I'm going to own this. And there is something here. And like, you know, we all have different situations. Like, so for me, like I knew I had some savings and that it'd be okay and I could figure it out, and that people, like if I needed to, like I could go and work in a clothing store or something and I'd get a discount.
Which is always
Not
nice.
a bad thing. Not a bad thing. I didn't have to do any of that, but you know, I always figured it's like kind of what my mom had said that day in the car, this idea that it's like, if you want to do something, you're always going to think, what if? So it's like, you might as well go and do it now. And I'm so glad that I really decided, like at the Live Free retreat, it was so impactful to me that I'm like, you know, I'm going to stand for what is good for me in this world. And for me, I know there's something here. And I like even had fangirls, they called them. I like, people name themselves fangirls and they tell me that. And they're like,
well,
I'm like,
created such a powerful brand, you know, like you really have. And so, yeah, no, I didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah,
oh,
it's
no,
interesting. I think you really, it's like very distinct, and it really, like, it's hitting a need that not many people are talking about, or that they're just starting to talk about.
Yeah, well, and it was interesting because as I was going through all this personal development work myself, I was realizing how many people, like in the styling world, it's like everybody's like, I don't want to generalize, but I'm going to, like, a lot of people that I think go into styling, like they do that because they think they need to fix something about themselves, and whether it's like obsessing about their food or whatever. And I mean, it's not
probably
just styling.
Coaching too. It's interesting,
and
like
coaching,
the similarities.
Like, yeah. And I started to realize, like, you know, the things I've heard people say about their bodies from models who I'm like, you know, I just think of myself as like myself as a teenager looking at this girl in a magazine. And if I knew that this model was saying like something about how her hips were too huge or whatever, like I think as a teenager that would have made me feel so much better, because I had all these unrealistic expectations of what would truly make me happy. And so what I realized is that like style is truly like a form of self-care. Like it's considered vain by some people because people do use it to make themselves feel better and it not addressing the inner stuff. And so for me, I really like what the whole evolution of everything has been is realizing that it's a form of self-care, and that styling is a form of personal development and a way to really get to know yourself better. And I think like speaking to that branding aspect, because I had the branding background, it was so easy. I knew how to do graphics and things like that. So I knew how to like brand myself, where it was really great. And I don't think you need to know how to brand yourself. You just need to get the right people. Like I always think the best leaders are ones that do the research. They know who they are, but I mean, also realize you don't 100% always know who you are. It's a process. But they also surround themselves with people that get them. And also like, if you don't know how to do all the brandings from like a graphic design background or whatever, like get people to support you with that.
I love that advice. And it's interesting because I think you're starting to shift a little bit. You're almost helping entrepreneurs like style their businesses and really create powerful brands. Do you have any like, I don't know, like a word of wisdom around that, or something you wish you'd known about brand style when you're first starting out?
Yeah. Well, you know, and it's, I mean, you've known me like on probably more of a personal level too. Like I think we were both admiring each other from afar.
Totally.
And our friend Katie was like, you guys need to actually like talk at me because you both have girl crushes on each other.
Yeah, basically.
But I think like, you know, like even just within our time of like really being like friends and being in touch, like I've been experiencing like this massive shift because of my own personal development. You know, I started out with Not So Skinny Style School. I came up with the phrase "not so skinny" in one of my masterminds, and I didn't want to be the plus size stylist. And it wasn't because after I did all my work, I'm like, okay, it's not because I don't like the word plus size. I just think a size should be a size. And so this idea that great style has no size is like,
it's so powerful. Like when I hear you say that, I'm just like, yeah.
And so really with that, like I named Not So Skinny Style School, like thinking
Mhm.
it would be a little bit beyond someone who's just a size 14 and above. But I started to like use it almost as a replacement for plus size. And so I
Mm.
think it's interesting because I realized that I was buying into the societal categorization of size.
Mhm.
And I really like it was unconscious. Like it's so ingrained in us. I don't think we realize it. And
Mhm.
truly, I believe that like with any sort of equal rights movement, whatever it is, race,
Mhm.
gender,
Mhm.
body,
Yeah.
that if you further categorize yourself, you are actually making yourself different and not equal. And so, truly, like in the last couple months, I have had a come to Jesus with myself where I am going to be shifting from the Not So Skinny branding and using
Mhm.
like Not So Skinny as a replacement for plus size. And it's interesting because I had
Mhm.
reversed a lot of fibromyalgia that I had in my body, and I started to have really bad widespread body pain in the last 6 months, and I didn't
Mhm.
know like what was happening. And as
Yeah.
soon as I was like, you know what, like I don't feel aligned with this anymore, and like I
Mhm.
knew that like there was kind of a next phase for me, all my body
Yeah.
pain went away. So I think like for me,
Wow. That's
it's
so interesting.
yeah, it's been huge for me to realize like okay, like my
Yeah.
body when it is in pain is trying to tell me something.
Mhm.
Like sometimes it takes a year, sometimes it takes a minute
I'm the
to figure
same
out what it is.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to have these, I would get chronic migraines when I was working full time and running my business on the side. And like, I don't really get them very often anymore. And it's so, I think my body was like, too much. Like, stop working so hard. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's so interesting.
Yeah, so it's been really interesting. And I kept saying, I want to feel like Syracuse. And my coach was like, what does that mean? And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I didn't take on too much there. I was like really in my zone of genius. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, that was all the stuff that came up. And then
Yeah.
after being like, okay, I want to merge loving your body and then my branding background to
Mm-hmm.
basically helping people create their own style brand. I was
Love
like,
it.
okay, like that's what like the Syracuse part that was missing was like I went into Syracuse saying I wanted to build my own fashion communications company.
Which is
Um,
similar to what you're doing now.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like I like just had this aha when I was in LA for the
Yeah.
winter, and like I had gone through all of that, and then like one night I was actually talking to our friend Katie
Yeah.
um, about something for Inner Glow Circle, and like my
Uh-huh.
brain just went into the whole branding thing, and I'm like, oh, that's what this has like been missing this entire time.
Totally.
That's what Syracuse meant. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
like the biggest thing I've learned along this journey is like, like I've had really amazing coaches. I've been in masterminds for the
Mm-hmm.
last 2.5 years. Those have been
Mm-hmm.
so amazing to surround myself with people that finally got me. It really helped
Yeah.
accelerate my own personal growth so then I could stand as the leader.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, like I don't regret any of the things I've done in my business, like,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that I have to do a shift or anything like that, because it's just bringing me more to like the whole vision.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just consistently getting more clear on what it is. And
Yeah.
so I think like, to bring it back to like what would be my biggest takeaway from all of it is just like
Mm-hmm.
realizing that it's a journey and that
Mm-hmm.
like I think many of us think we're going to go into it and like you see all these things of like, I made 6 figures in the first like 6 months of my business and
Mm-hmm.
like they don't realize that like sometimes that means like you may actually have not made a profit or
Or it was your
you
third business, you
and you
know?
exactly. Or you were like crying every day on the phone. Like I
Yeah.
think you have to be really clear on like what you want from your life.
Yeah,
And
totally. Totally. So true.
right. And because
Yeah.
like your business is not supposed to like make you feel worse than if you were in a miserable 9 to 5 job.
Yeah. No, it's such an important reminder. Oh my
Yeah. So I
God.
think that's
Yeah.
my biggest thing is just it's like it's a journey, not a
Mhm.
destination. I've realized that with body love,
Yeah.
with overcoming like my overeating
Mm-hmm.
and even just within my entrepreneurial journey. And
Mm-hmm.
it is one of the like most epic soul journeys you can ever go on, honestly.
Oh my God. 100%.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and like and now doing the switch, like I also have found out that women who or like anyone who has a defined personal brand actually makes 20% more.
Oh my God. I
And
love
so
that. Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
and so I find it so interesting because I feel like for
Mm-hmm.
myself, like I was able to stand out pretty quickly because I had a clear idea of my
Yeah.
own style. It's even evolved within itself,
Mm-hmm.
but like I was very clear about who I was
Mm-hmm.
from a visual standpoint, so people were able to get that feeling when they came to my site. Because
Mm-hmm.
when anybody like, and it's funny, like I've just like finally like I don't know, you know, like in a movie where they like, especially like in Star Wars, where they're going through like and you're like, that's how it feels sometimes when like all the stuff you've been doing have finally like come together. And I'm like,
Yes.
everything like warp speed and then it like
It's like, oh,
slowed
thank
down.
God. I wasn't so scattered, like with all my
Yeah.
different interests. Yeah.
Like all the puzzle pieces have come together for me. And like,
Yeah.
you know, I just like innately knew that. And so I find it's like so important for women to surround themselves with amazing people that totally get them.
Mhm.
I also think like not being afraid of change. Like if you truly want something, you have to think of it not as sacrifice, but as like what you're actually devoted to.
Yeah.
Because sacrifice to me is like very
I love
masculine, I
that
guess.
shift. Yeah. That's
And like
beautiful.
I have to thank my mentor Nisha Moodley very much for like asking like what you're devoted to, and I like that's something that I always come back to. And really like just being clear about like what's working for you. Like I started to have my VA like handle a lot of more personal stuff, so it would de-stress me.
Yeah, I love that. Calling in higher support. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And so I think like as women, we don't often ask for support because we think we can do everything ourselves. And so for me, it has been really letting go of that support. Now, I do feel like we have this unconscious sexism in our mind against other women that have support. Like we try to tear each other down or make them feel bad, which is something that I've experienced. But what I've further come back to is like, this is supporting me. Anybody else's issues are not my own.
Yes, 100%.
You know, I think it's further just goes back to this idea of getting more clear of like what you need and then figuring out like how you're going to make that happen.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, and the
awesome.
biggest, I have a really important thing. Like as someone who did business plan competition, like not the whole thing, but I did win an award.
Yeah.
I realized I actually didn't go into my business with a business plan.
Interesting. Was that a good decision or a bad decision or neutral?
I have not decided yet. I think
Okay.
I think at some point you really do need to do a business plan. And so that would be my biggest suggestion to people is like even just knowing that it's like a living and breathing thing. I think you can start by almost like dabbling and seeing where you really feel great about working. Like, is it one-on-one? Is it virtually? Is it whatever, a product? And then once you know what the thing is, then it's really good to make a business plan. Because I noticed for me, I like really started trying to grow without like I had the whole vision in my head, but it's good to kind of put it down on paper so you know when you can say yes or no to something that's like truly aligned and supporting that like end goal with your business. So
I love
that's
that.
Yeah.
Such a good piece of advice. And so I know you currently have a 5-part video training series at notsoskinny.com. Can you just give us a quick little teaser about what people can expect if they go there? Yeah.
Yeah. So like I've been talking about, like even transition away from the Not So Skinny branding, like this is all still Not So Skinny, but really at the core, it is getting clear and letting yourself stand out in the world. And my medicine and ways for everyone is through style. And in the video training series, we kind of cover everything from like the fact we use clothing as a way to hide in this world, how to actually allow yourself to shine. I bring in a couple of my own clients and they talk about their own body love and style journeys, and they're both entrepreneurs. Like this is the funny thing. I kept getting entrepreneurs coming in and those were the people that
and so I think that's something really interesting for you. Totally. And then and you have a style star retreat coming up too. Is that right? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so basically, to sum it up super quickly, to begin with, it's just like a girls' weekend meets what not to wear.
Oh my God, I love it. That's so fun. When where is this fabulousness happening?
So it's in New York, and we host it in New York and LA. The next one is in June, the 10th to the 12th.
Okay.
And I actually go with my team. We work with up to 8 women in each of these retreats, and I talk with everyone beforehand. I get everyone super clear on how they want to feel in their clothing, how they want their brand to feel and look, and just style that down. I go out with my team. We shop for all the clothing. We bring it in.
Oh my God.
And the Saturday is like a whole day of shopping in our actual like location, and then Sunday we do a photo shoot. I bring in my glam squad, and so
that's so amazing.
You get you get photos and like a whole new wardrobe with it, and
this
you don't have
to
like
bucket
go into the
list
stores.
officially. Like I have to do this at some point. Yeah.
Yes,
for sure.
Backstage side, we will have you come to the first retreat.
I love it. I love it. Oh my God, so exciting. So if you had to offer, just as we wrap up, one final piece to somebody who's maybe in the early stages of their day job to dream job story, what would you say? What would you tell that person?
I have so many pieces of advice.
I know, you're like full of wisdom, actually. I feel like I need to be taking notes and like, I'm like, oh, that was so smart. That was great too.
I have so many thoughts. And it's funny because I think because I haven't specifically been like a life or business coach, it's like always style. Like I see everybody too, like in
Yeah.
all these masterminds from all different, and I'm like, I'm still like, my mind is so business and creative oriented that I'm always seeing things.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Oh, so cool.
yeah, I mean, honestly, it like might sound so cliche, but it's like, it's just to be yourself.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think so many of us want to like brand because something will convert the most, or like, oh, you should be a plus size stylist because that's such a hot field. And it's like, if that's not feeling right for you, like your body will tell you, as
Yeah,
I've
loudly
mentioned,
sometimes.
like, why can't I get out of bed? I'm in so much pain. Like,
Oh, yeah,
why do I have
totally.
headaches? Um,
Hmm.
and so I think it's just about listening to yourself and just not like forcing yourself to listen to yourself because that's not actually like,
Hmm.
you'll probably just try to fix something into something that
Yeah,
it's not. But I
yeah.
honestly find that like by actually consistently taking action, I just further understand myself. And I really try to come from it as a like from a place of love and non-judgment of myself because it is all a journey. And
Totally.
so ultimately, we need to be kind to ourselves and we need to be loving and know that it is just part of this journey we've chosen in like this lifetime for ourselves, and that you just like, I think women are doing a great disservice not being themselves in the world
Hmm.
and just trying to people please their way through life.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you can just be more of yourself. You can still be a nice person. It might mean you have to like
Hmm.
do things a little differently, but I find the more I am myself, the more people I draw in, and the
Hmm.
more people I draw in that I feel so aligned with and excited to serve and work with, and
Yes.
it just creates a lot of magic.
Ah,
So
I
that's
love
the
it.
biggest advice. Yeah, of
I love it. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Crystal, and
course.
sharing all of your unique magic. It's been super fun.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure.
Yay.